John Basilone's name often appears in conversations about exceptional heroism and unwavering loyalty. He was born on November 4th, 1916, in Buffalo, New York, into a large Italian-American family. Times were tough, and so was the young boy who was destined to alter the course of many battles in World War II. His parents, Salvatore and Theodora, had already seen 5 children into the world before John arrived as their 6th. Hard work and family pride formed the bedrock of his upbringing, and these early lessons left him hungry for purpose beyond the local golf course where he worked as a caddy in his teenage years. Despite leaving school after middle school, Basilone was never short on ambition. As he hauled golf clubs on weekends, he honed his arm strength and stamina. He was also a natural athlete who took an interest in boxing, a sport that demanded both grit and finesse. There is a story that he once tried to make friends with an ornery bull, an undertaking that ended with a heavy landing and numerous bruises, enough to prove to everyone else that John either had remarkable courage or an equal measure of stubbornness. Though he lived in modest circumstances, Basilone radiated a sense of determination that stood out everywhere he went. At the age of 18, Basilone felt compelled to explore the world outside his hometown. He enlisted in the United States Army in 1934, looking for a calling that might deliver him from the humdrum of daily life. Stationed in the Philippines for 3 years, he polished his boxing prowess and encountered a lifestyle filled with steamy jungles, unrelenting rain, and seemingly infinite mosquitoes. Army life was physically demanding, yet Basilone embraced it with open arms, quickly developing a reputation as a strong contender in the ring. The humid climate and harsh conditions in the tropics did not discourage him. If anything, they sharpened his survival instincts. During these early years, Basilone continued perfecting the art of operating a machine gun. He learned to break it down and reassemble it while blindfolded, an eccentric but effective way to practice for the chaos of real battles. This skill set and his relentless dedication made him a figure who commanded both respect and camaraderie among his peers. When his army enlistment ended in 1937, Basilone returned to the United States with uncertain plans. He cycled through ordinary jobs, from driving trucks to working at a gas company, but nothing truly satisfied him. Global events soon redefined his path. Troubled by news of conflict spreading across the world, Basilone believed he still had more to give in uniform. In 1940, he joined the United States Marine Corps, driven by a gut feeling that a larger struggle lay ahead. If the Army had become too predictable for him, the Marines represented a fresh start where his grit, skill with machine guns, and unwavering zeal could flourish. After completing recruit training at Parris Island and further training at Quantico and New River, Basilone was eventually stationed in places such as Guantanamo Bay, where the intense heat reminded him of his days in the Philippines. When the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor in December 1941, Basilone's sense of duty crystallized. America was now officially in World War II. Soon after, he was shipped out to support the ongoing campaign in the Pacific. By 1942, he found himself on Guadalcanal, part of the Solomon Islands, where American forces sought to control a strategic airfield that the Japanese were threatening to seize or destroy. Basilone arrived on this intense stage as part of the 1st Battalion, 7th Marines. Conditions were primitive, and the environment was unforgiving, a climate of heavy rains and dense tropical growth. Water was vital not just to stay hydrated, but also to cool the barrels of machine guns that could overheat when firing at full capacity. Basilone's earlier experiences in the steamy Philippines prepared him to handle these demands. By October 1942, the battle for Guadalcanal escalated around a key site known as Henderson Field. The Japanese were fixated on recapturing the airfield and crippling the American presence in the South Pacific. Basilone's unit found itself at the heart of this standoff. During the pivotal battle for Henderson Field, the Japanese attacked with overwhelming numbers, brandishing mortars, hand grenades, and machine guns. Basilone commanded 2 sections of heavy machine guns. Over 2 brutal days, he and his men fought off assaults from nearly 3,000 Japanese soldiers. Such was the intensity of the fight that Basilone's section soon faced critical ammunition shortages. Undeterred, he navigated pitch-black jungles, braving the possibility of ambush to replenish machine gun rounds for his gunners. On a battlefield drenched in fear, exhaustion, and desperation, he remained an anchor of stability. When the last bullet belts ran dry, Basilone sprang into action yet again. Armed with a pistol and a machete, he defended his position until more Marines arrived. 2 machine guns out of commission, he repaired them himself under relentless enemy fire. Severed supply lines, he crawled through hostile territory to restore them. The outcome of this pitched struggle was grim for the attacking forces, who suffered catastrophic losses. Basilone's extraordinary bravery directly contributed to halting the enemy's advance and securing the American defensive lines around Henderson Field. His superhuman efforts did not go unnoticed. Basilone was awarded the Medal of Honor, the nation's highest military distinction for actions that transcended the call of duty. This recognition propelled him into the public spotlight, quickly making him one of the war's most celebrated heroes. Nonetheless, his own words hinted at humility. In interviews, Basilone stated he just happened to be in the right place at the right time, downplaying his role in an engagement that truly tested the limits of courage. In early 1943, Basilone returned to the United States to participate in war bond tours. This role often involved giving speeches, attending parades, and generating public support for the war effort. The fervor surrounding his return was immense. His hometown of Raritan, New Jersey, organized a massive parade in his honor, and the media published stories that celebrated him as a shining example of American resolve. Still, Basilone yearned to be back with his fellow Marines in active theaters of combat. He declined multiple offers, including a commission that would have kept him stateside in relative comfort. Although the war bond tour boosted national morale and crucial funding, the role felt incongruous to Basilone's nature. He had trained to fight, to lead men, and to overcome obstacles on the battlefield. Parades and fanfare made him uneasy. Eventually, he managed to convince Marine Corps officials to let him return to the front lines. Before shipping out once again, he met and married Sergeant Lena Mae Ridgey, a member of the Marine Corps Women's Reserve. Their wedding was a brief moment of normalcy in a life consumed by global conflict. In December 1944, Basilone headed to Camp Pendleton for training with the newly formed 5th Marine Division. Despite the repeated attempts of others to keep him away from danger, Basilone prepared to join his old unit, or any unit that needed him. By 1945, the Allies had turned the tide of war in many theaters. However, the campaign in the Pacific still raged as the Japanese fiercely defended every inch of territory. Basilone's final battlefield was Iwo Jima, a small volcanic island with towering Japanese fortifications. American strategists targeted this speck of land for its critical airfields that could serve as a launch pad for further operations against the Japanese mainland. For Basilone and his comrades, the black sands of Iwo Jima presented a nightmarish scenario. Pillboxes and blockhouses were meticulously concealed among rocky outcroppings. Suribachi loomed ominously in the distance. On February 19, 1945, Basilone landed on Red Beach 2 with the 1st Battalion, 27th Marine Regiment. Initial moments gave the impression of calm, as the enemy held its fire until American forces crowded the shoreline. Then a storm of shells and bullets erupted, pinning down Marines along the beach. Basilone recognized that being immobilized under that lethal crossfire spelled disaster. Gathering up his men, he guided them off the shoreline and into more defensible positions where they could rally and push forward. Some accounts detail how Basilone personally took out a heavily fortified blockhouse using demolitions and grenades. The walls shook under blasts of TNT, sending debris and dust into the air. With one machine gun nest eliminated, Basilone moved quickly to assist a Marine tank caught in the open, trapped in a field riddled with landmines. Tracer rounds and mortars slammed into the sand around them. Basilone's capacity to maintain clear-headed resolve in the face of such chaos was legendary. Basilone safely directed the tank away from immediate danger, but moments later, he was struck and killed by enemy artillery or possibly small arms fire. His death was instantaneous. leaving little chance for final words or goodbyes. The tragedy of losing such an esteemed Marine sent shockwaves through the ranks. Within hours, word spread that Manila John had made the ultimate sacrifice. Posthumously, Basilone received the Navy Cross, the nation's second highest military award for valor. This accolade, combined with his earlier Medal of Honor, established him as the only enlisted Marine in World War II to receive both decorations. He was laid to rest in Arlington National Cemetery, a place reserved for America's most venerated service members. His widow, Lena, remained devoted to his memory, never remarrying, and later being interred at Riverside National Cemetery with her wedding ring still on. In the years following World War II, Basilone's fame did not recede. Military installations and vessels were named in his honor, including roads at Camp Pendleton and 2 United States Navy destroyers, one commissioned shortly after the war and another laid down decades later. These gestures reflect the enduring respect the Marine Corps and the nation have for a man who epitomized leadership and courage under fire. Throughout his journey, Basilone inspired both enlisted Marines and officers. When you stand at Marine Corps Base Camp Pendleton and see Basilone Road, or pass by a Basilone Memorial, you are reminded of a guiding principle. A single individual's convictions can shape the destiny of many. Even everyday Americans have found ways to memorialize him. In his hometown of Raritan, parades continue to honor Basilone's heroism, and a bronze statue was raised at the intersection of Old York Road and Canal Street. Across the country, from Montclair State University's Basilone Hall to the naming of highways and roads, the memory of this Marine is kept fresh. Medal of Honor citations often carry language that sounds almost too dramatic for real life. Yet Basilone's story proves every word. By faithfully manning machine guns until ammunition was practically gone, and then marching off to restock supplies under withering fire, he displayed a resolute spirit seldom matched. By charging enemy strongpoints, directing tanks through minefields, and putting his life on the line to secure a beachhead, he underscored the essence of a Marine's duty: to accomplish the mission, no matter the cost. In the annals of military folklore, Basilone stands shoulder to shoulder with legends such as Chesty Puller. His real-life escapades exceed the boundaries of any Hollywood script. He had his flaws, occasional brashness and a restless streak, but that only makes him more relatable. He was a flesh-and-blood human being who found his calling in the chaos of war. Today, if you visit any Marine Corps museum or attend a commemoration event, you may see Basilone's face on a poster or read his name on a plaque. Military historians and everyday people alike still marvel at the two extremes of his life: the flamboyant war-bond celebrity who received national acclaim, and the determined warrior who insisted on rejoining his men in battle despite every effort to keep him safe. That tension between public praise and personal conviction defined him to the core. John Basilone was not about parades and accolades. He was about stepping up when events turned dire, forging ahead when others hesitated, and placing devotion to his fellow Marines above everything else. His willingness to return to combat, despite already having earned the highest award in the land, showed a character shaped by loyalty and selflessness. That final act on Iwo Jima, demonstrating unstoppable leadership in the face of relentless enemy fire, guaranteed that his name would live on in the stories Marines tell each other. His spirit resonates in the everyday actions of service members who choose courage over fear and unity over self-preservation. Reflecting on Basilone's story can remind us that while war is indeed brutal, it can bring out the best in individuals who uphold a moral code built on valor. Even though John Basilone fell on that black-sanded battlefield, his legacy endures in each Marine who aspires to the same unwavering dedication. The next time you pass a street sign bearing Basilone's name or see a parade in his honor, think of the man behind the medal. He was more than a war hero in official documents. He was Manila John, a determined fighter who used every ounce of skill, tenacity, and heart to protect those around him. His life story is a timeless call to stand firm, believe in one another, and do what must be done, even when the odds appear insurmountable.